Imam Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala brings the story of Imam Abu Hanifah rahimahullah ta'ala having a conversation with another top-tier scholar of his time, Imam 𝗔𝗺𝗃𝗵. He was a scholar of a really high caliber, but he chose to completely disengage from the material world, to completely disengage from the people around him. Imam Abu Hanifah asks him, لِمَا آثَرْتَ الْإِنْزِوَاءَ? Why have you chosen this life of seclusion? And he responded, Imam 𝗔𝗺𝗃𝗵 responds, he says, لِأُجَاهِدَ نَفْسِي بِتَرْكِ الْجِدَالِ. I want to tame my ego. I want to discipline my ego by just staying away from arguments. I don't want that I engage with people and it leads me to having debates with them, leads me into arguments. I want to tame this rebellious ego of mine, this nafs of mine. Imam Abu Hanifah responds to him, rahimahullah ta'ala, if you truly want to discipline your ego, your nafs, sit with people, listen to what they have to say, but don't comment yourself. Just listen to what they have to say. Because the rebellious ego, its chance to express its rebellion is when the tongue begins to move. And that's especially opportune for it when you're sitting amongst people, when you're engaging with people. Imam 𝗔𝗺𝗃𝗵 responds. He says many years later, he recalls this, he says this sometime later, he says, I took the advice of Imam Abu Hanifah, and I found no disciplining of the ego more difficult than this. This is the crux for us. This is the crux of ihsan. If we want to achieve excellence as Muslims, it comes down to taming the ego, disciplining the ego, let alone mastering the ego. As we live in today's age, we don't even have a concept of these exercises through which we could destroy our ego. This is the crux of ihsan, to be excellent as Muslims, to have such submission to Allah that the ego doesn't even have room to express its rebellion. From a young age, we're surrounded by consumerism. We are literally groomed to indulge in our nafs. We have far more toys as children to play with than we need. We go out to eat at restaurants far more than we need. We want something. We want to wear nice clothes. We want to wear the best. We want to have the best gadgets, to wear the best watches, to drive the best cars. Constantly want. The world around us is grooming us to always indulge our ego. There is nothing more dangerous than having a rebellious ego. You speak because you want to speak. You do something because you want to do it. You wear something because you want to wear it. There's no greater purpose to the things that we do. If we want to be excellent Muslims, the only way we could accomplish that is even our reflexes are the remembrance of Allah at the expense of indulging the ego. The Messenger says, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, إِنَّمَا الصَّبْرُ عِنْدَ الصَّدْمَةِ الْأُولَى. True patience is at the first jolt. Something, a calamity occurred to you, some suffering came your way. At the first instance, your reflex action is to have patience, to engage in the remembrance of Allah. That's disciplining the ego. That's achieving ihsan, excellence in Islam. If a person's walking, your ego is so tamed and trained that, let's say you're walking and you hit your foot really hard against something. Your first reaction to say Alhamdulillah, to engage in the remembrance of Allah. As Muslims, that's the goal. Especially in today's consumerist world, we don't indulge the ego. Our first reflex for anything is the remembrance of Allah. This is the advice of Imam Abu Hanifah. If you truly want to tame your ego, discipline it. Engage in exercises. You want to talk, don't talk. You want to eat sweets, don't eat sweets. Here and there, starve your ego in order to bring yourself to the remembrance of Allah, such that that becomes your first response the remembrance of Allah. May Allah Azza wa Jal, for the sake of His beloved Rasul, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, bless us all with tawfiq.